You're listening to Big World Network.
Incubus, Season 4, Episode 3, written and read by Amanda Meuwissen. Nathan had completely forgotten about his wounded leg, being so focused on Sasha. He remembered that it had started aching in the car, but the bleeding had stopped again, so that Nathan didn't think it mattered enough to mention. Schuster was the one who reminded him, having noticed the bloodstain and tear in Nathan's jeans. Their friend had fetched a first aid kit, setting to work to clean the wound out, regardless of Nathan's protests that he was fine. The wound was borderline infected and angry after hours of going untreated, but once some antiseptic had been applied and Nathan's calf was wrapped in bandages, the pain lessened again to a dull throb. Sasha's aunt arrived at Schuster's apartment only a few hours later, hours of waiting that Nathan spent mostly gritting his teeth. Jim answered the sharp rapping of knocks when she arrived, though Nathan stayed close, peering around Jim to get a good look at the succubus he had only heard about in passing. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was probably the most beautiful woman Nathan had ever laid eyes on in real life. She put supermodels to shame with her long legs, shown off to perfection in a short black skirt and heels. Her sweater was the same royal blue as her eyes, like Sasha's, and it clung in all the right places, hanging off her shoulders to show pale, perfect skin. Her face was almost identical to the face of Sasha's mother and other aunt, but her hair was raven black and wavy down her back. Nathan held back a whistle, threatening to form out of old habit, and contented himself with a long once-over of the ravishing woman. The only thing that marred the picture was her fierce expression, as frightening as she was beautiful. "Where is my nephew?" Shiera all but growled, pushing past Jim without awaiting an invitation. Nathan took a step back, since she headed straight for him. He gestured further into the apartment. "First bedroom up the stairs." Shiera's eyes passed a sharp, icy glare at him. She barely acknowledged the figure of Schuster or his daughter in the living room as she headed for the stairs. As wary of the succubus as Nathan was, he was not about to abandon Sasha. He followed Shiera into the room and approached the bed on the opposite side. Jim came in behind him. A delicate-looking hand passed over Sasha's brow, the same gesture all of them kept repeating, even though Sasha had never shown signs of a fever, no signs of anything other than his endless sleep. Then Shiera's hand brushed gently over the jagged scar left on Sasha's chest, and her fierce blue eyes looked to Nathan. "You said a seal did this." "Yeah, but he's not one of the men in this apartment, so you can quit with the accusing looks," Nathan shot back. "Where is he?" "We don't know," said Jim. "He got away while we were trying to help Sasha." Shiera released a small huff of air. "Well done, boys," she said, and Nathan thought as he listened more to her voice that he detected a faint accent, though it was slight enough that he wasn't sure he could give it an origin. "And here Sasha told me not to worry. You've certainly proved otherwise, now haven't you?" "Now you listen to me," Nathan started in, no longer caring if Shiera could technically rip him apart. "Sasha means a lot to us too, so you can shove that self-righteous bullshit right up your ass." Nathan thought he heard Jim gasp, but he pressed on, staring across the bed into burning blue eyes. "We did everything we could. We called you because we're sorry, but we don't know how to bring an incubus out of a damn coma. You want to help with that? Good. You want to stand there and look down on us because we weren't able to do more? Then you can get the hell out of here." The silence that followed Nathan's outburst was painfully still. Nathan felt like he was back to being 10 years old, having a staring contest with his brother. Shiera was clearly not the type of woman to usually back down, but she also seemed to respect that enough in others to decide Nathan wasn't worthy of being dismembered. "You must be Nathan," she said, and crossed slender arms over her more than ample chest. "Nice to meet you," Nathan replied with extra sarcasm. "Now, are you going to tell us how we can get Sasha back, or do you need to touch up your makeup first?" Jim moved in quickly to join Nathan beside the bed. "What he means is we'll do whatever it takes to help Sasha, so please, tell us there is something we can do. We've already told you everything that happened over the phone. It wasn't pure iron, it was an alloy, Shiera finished. She started fishing in the purse that was thrown over her shoulder. If that is the case, then your quick work with the antidote probably saved my boy's life. To flush the rest of the iron out of his system and wake him, we'll need this. She pulled a vial from her purse, not unlike the ones Sasha carried. I'll also need a little something from both of you. Nathan stared at the vial. At first it looked identical to the ones with the antidote, but then Nathan noticed strange spirals of red mixed in with the green. Not that I don't trust your other friend, Shiera said, nodding toward the door to indicate Schuster. But I only need 2 more candidates. My own blood has already been added. She started moving around the bed toward them, and they both instinctually backed away. Whoa, Nathan said, enjoying the fact that he currently had Jim as a human shield. What's this about blood? What is that stuff? What's it do? Shiera stopped a mere foot from Jim and propped her free hand on her hip. Nathan couldn't help but notice how similar her exasperated expression was to Sasha's. If you two care about Sasha as much as you say, then this stuff is what is going to wake him back up again. The most powerful thing to our kind is passion, emotion. This antidote is stronger than the one used for simple wounds. It combines the power of 3, taking an amplified antidote and mixing it with 3 drops of blood from 3 willing participants who love the one being cured. Love, boys, Shiera repeated with something of a sneer. So you understand why I'm not so thrilled about this. Sasha has no one but me. So either you're lying and using him somehow, and in that case the potion will be ineffective and mean very bad things for you, or you really care for my nephew and are therefore the only thing that can help me save him. Her eyes drifted incredulously to Nathan. Nathan felt both a rush of anger toward Shiera and a jolt of joy at finally knowing there was a clear way to save Sasha and that it would work. Of course it would work, because Nathan and Jim had grown to care for Sasha very much. Surely that translated easily into love between friends. At the very least, friends. Perhaps it was Nathan and Jim's twin looks of determination as they walked toward her that made Shiera's expression soften. She was still a little vicious when she snatched up Jim's hand and pricked his finger with her suddenly transformed succubus claws. Jim hissed, but didn't pull away, allowing Shiera to hold his finger over the now open vial and squeeze 3 drops of blood. At his turn, Nathan reached down to grab for his ankle blade and cut his own finger. Shiera huffed at him, more than a bit snobbish as far as Nathan was concerned, but was perhaps a bit less gentle with Nathan when she squeezed the blood from him. Everything else about the new, more powerful antidote worked the same. First, Shiera poured it over the wound, where it sizzled the way it had the first time, softening the scar a bit, though not getting rid of it completely. And then she poured what remained down Sasha's throat, and green light shot through his body beneath the skin. Nathan waited for that glorious moment when Sasha's eyes would spring wide, flashing brilliant red. But it didn't happen. Sasha still didn't move, and for a moment Nathan felt a wave of panic. As the succubus turned away from Sasha, her expression was not one of anger, however, but somewhere between fondness and exhaustion. Now we wait. This isn't a quick fix. It will take time to banish every bit of iron, and only then will he wake again. The longest it could possibly take would be 24 hours, but considering how quickly you initially healed him, it might only be a few hours before the potion has finished. If, after a day, he does not wake up, she added, returning the empty vial to her purse and walking once again over to where Jim and Nathan were standing, you won't live to see the day that follows. That, I should think, should be very clear. Crystal, Nathan grumbled. So, you have a place in Seattle? Nathan could kill Jim for attempting small talk. He preferred the previous several hours of awkward silence. Schuster had put on a pot of coffee, Nathan and Jim both managing to function on pure will alone as they waited into the night. The 4 of them, along with Kitty, were seated in the living room. Shiera had become somewhat more courteous, at least to Schuster, who she had heard Sasha talk of fondly for much longer than Nathan or Jim. She also seemed especially softened when speaking to Kitty, referring to her as "dear girl" every time she spoke to her. "I keep a residence there, yes," Shiera said, sipping her coffee. She was like one of those rich characters on primetime soap operas, all perfect crossed legs and delicate movements, despite the brute strength she had to possess after who knows how many years alive. "I prefer Seattle if I'm going to stay somewhere longer than a few days. It would be nice to have Sasha visit once in a while, instead of him gallivanting around the country." Nathan grimaced, picking up easily on her passive-aggressive tone. "You want to go blaming that on us, too? Look, I'm sorry for what happened with your sister. Really. And for Sasha being banished. But we've never talked him into anything. We just asked for his help, and he agreed. He makes his own choices. You can't blame a seal for getting in a little deep now and again. But we've managed to come back from it, even this time." "We'll see about that," Shiera said. "Are you an angel, too?" Kitty asked suddenly. Shiera's smile turned instantly more genuine as she turned to the little girl. "Angel? Why, dear girl, I'm afraid it's not quite as romantic as all that. Or perhaps more romantic, in a way."
"Daddy said Sasha is an incubus," Kitty said.
"Quite right," Shiera answered. "And in that case, yes, I am the same. I'm sure you have heard many frightening stories about cruel and evil fae, but we are far from it. I'm impressed you are still so taken with Sasha after seeing his true form. You must be a very special girl." Kitty beamed. Even though Nathan knew he would be chided by Jim for it later, he couldn't help commenting on Shiera's gentle treatment of the girl. "You know, you're about as big a hypocrite as anyone I've met. Kitty is a special girl. I'll make no argument against that. But you could give the rest of us some credit, too. Sasha didn't trust us at first either, but when push came to shove and we found out what he really was, we helped him, kept working with him, became better friends even. And Schuster, he's known the truth about Sasha for years, and you said yourself Sasha's never had anything but good things to say about him." Schuster's eyes widened, as if to say he would have preferred to be left unmentioned, and smiled weakly when Shiera's eyes moved to him. "Yes, well, I could tell Sasha was a good boy from the start. He was just a kid when we first met." "Oh, I don't doubt you," Shiera said, "but that doesn't mean I trust anyone easily. Humans see different, and they fear it. You can't deny that." "No, I can't," Nathan said. "But sounds to me like fae are exactly the same. Do you know the real difference between you and me? At least I knew when to admit I was wrong. Excuse me." Suddenly, coffee and conversation didn't sound all that appealing. Nathan left the living room and headed for Sasha. He didn't need to be talked down to. He knew where he stood. He knew how he felt and how difficult it had been to get where he was. Sasha had become a part of his life so quickly, so completely, that it had to be thicker and stronger than friendship. Nathan had almost made it into Sasha's room when he heard Shiera behind him. "I see why he likes you," she said, softly and close at his back. Turning to her, Nathan saw that she was alone, but he wasn't about to let her have the last word, just so she could prove her own point. "Say whatever you want. I know who I am." A grin grew on Shiera's pale, beautiful face. She was tall for a woman, tall enough that she could probably look Nathan in the eyes without her heels. "You're bold," she said. "You're confident. You're obviously vain." Nathan laughed. "Keep it coming, sister," he thought. He could take it. "You're also very much in love with my nephew, and I would have to be a fool not to see that." Nathan gaped, not knowing how to respond. "I don't want the same mistake made again," Shiera said, her tone no longer cool, but frighteningly serious. "I won't lose Sasha the way I lost his mother. Do you understand? Not the same way. Not again. Not again. God damn it, not again." Nathan felt like he was choking. His throat was so tight. He knew those feelings, those hot, vibrant feelings that called to him from inside her eyes. He had felt the same way so many times. I swear, if you bring that fate upon my child, I will destroy every inch of you, Shiera growled, and Nathan couldn't blame her. He really couldn't. He knew just how it felt to be that angry and that scared at the same time. I've heard and seen and felt all the feelings Sasha has for you, Nathan Grier. I can only hope, pray, that he isn't blindly following the same path as his parents. You promise me he isn't. You promise me right now. I can't promise anything, Nathan said. I can't promise I can keep Sasha safe. Not any more than you can. But if you think I'd ever let anyone hurt him, even me, if there wasn't something, anything I could do to prevent it, then you didn't listen when Sasha told you about me, because that is not me. I'd give anything for him to be okay right now. Anything. As Nathan finished, he looked up past Shiera and saw Jim and Schuster sneaking up the stairs from the living room, having heard at least some of what he said. When Nathan looked back into the deep blue of Shiera's eyes, so much like Sasha's, but so unlike him, too, he couldn't read them at all. He could only imagine that she somehow understood, since she didn't say anything to counter him. "Hey," came a voice, gentle and ragged, from behind Nathan. But there couldn't be anyone behind Nathan. Everyone was in front of him. Slowly, Nathan turned around, his heart caught up in his windpipe, and amazingly, he saw red, and blue, and pale skin with a teasing black tattoo that peeked up over the top of loose jeans. Sasha was leaning weakly against the doorframe of the guest room, human-looking and very tired, despite his large smile. "Any food around this place?" he said, breathless but still breathing, still standing, alive. "I'm starving."
You're listening to Big World Network.